Welcome to Arena Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi. I'm your host Arinda, and today we're talking about Stargate SG1 with Marc Seven. The story of Stargate SG1 begins about a year after the events of the future film when the United States government learns that an ancient alien device called the Stargate can access a network of such devices on a multitude of planets and in space. SU-1 is an elite United States Air Force Special Operations Team, one of about 20 teams from Earth who explore the galaxy and defend against alien threats such as the Glood, the Replicators, and the Ori. The series drawn upon Egyptian, Greek, and Norse mythology, as well as the legend of King Arthur. I always have liked Stargate SG-1. The whole space traveling concept throughout Stargate is somewhat of a mystery. You never know where you end up to. My favorite character is Teal'c. Although I love Stargate SG-1, I never could get into the other series. Why? I have no idea. Maybe because SG-1 was SG-1 and I didn't want any other crews to mess that up. I think SG-1 is a great sci-fi series slash movies, and the beauty of it is that it doesn't travel to the future but more like old civilizations and unknown worlds. Today our guest is Marc Seven. Hello Marc, welcome and thank you
Hello,
for joining me.
great to be here. Thank you for inviting me again.
So today we are talking about Stargate SG-1. Can you tell me in your own words what is Stargate SG-1 and what does it mean to you?
Stargate SG1 was a very, very good idea that came after the Stargate, the movie. The first idea of the Stargate had so many possibilities, and they were wise to explore those possibilities, and instead of making only one Stargate working from here, from the Earth to Ra mining colony, they 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 expanded everything to a big galactic network, and they expanded even more from new galaxies, and wow, they created a monster. Stargate is a very, very successful monster in terms of imagination.
I read the last couple of weeks a lot about the new reboot of Stargate. What is your opinion
Mhm.
about that?
For now, they are working about that. They don't say any information about that. Everything you read is just speculation. They want to shock everyone. And they want to innovate. They want to make a real reboot about Stargate. Because if you if you start to do the same of the last 15 or 17 seasons they made from Stargate, Stargate Atlantis, and Stargate Universe, they will lose a lot of creative stuff. So I believe we will not know anything until they put in the air the first episode.
Do you think it will work because they are talking about bringing the old characters and actors back in it?
I don't think so because they want to innovate. I believe the old people from the series will appear just like Dr. McCoy appeared in the Next Generation Star Trek. He appeared, he said, "God bless you," and Godspeed. I believe this will happen in Stargate too. The situation they left the Stargate in the last series remote many interesting things because Atlantis is on Earth, is on the in the ocean on Earth, is now it can be productive in the Earth and could change the Earth politically very much. So the possibilities are so big. They have so many chances to do that. Then I sincerely hope they can do the same wise thing they did first with the first movie Stargate they are doing now. I really hope they do everything by success.
I hope so too, because I must confess, SG1 is my favorite, and I couldn't get into Atlantis and Universe. I don't know why,
Mm.
and yeah, it's still I still love SG1. If we are looking to the Stargate itself, how do you think or like about the Egyptian and Norwegian mythology in the whole series?
The Egyptian culture was shown in Stargate like an imitation of the Goa'uld culture, the domain, the organization, political organization. So we when we see these movies and we see that there is a very profound alien influence in the political organization and even in the decoration of the Egyptian things, we can understand from where all this came in the Stargate point of view. Of course, I don't share these beliefs, but the whole series have some logic when they organize those information this way.
I must say the Gura old worms, if you can say it like that, reminds me a little bit of Alien.
Yes, they
Uh,
they are they are parasite uh, kind of aliens, and it's very unlogical that a life form so small have brain cells in its body to control a bigger brain than its own. It's very sci-fi for my taste, but it's a fact. They made this that way, and it was very effective. The Goa'uld took a lot of work to be beaten, and I like that. They made a very fabulous enemy for the Earth.
yeah, you mentioned that before we recording this episode. Can you tell me something a little bit more about that anime, because I never heard about it?
You mean the parasites?
Now you said that there was a cartoon of Stargate.
Well, the series shown they have a very basic culture, mounted and organized in the what we see the Egyptian way. But the series shows that the Egyptians learned from the aliens how to organize themselves. So we see those aliens like parasites trying to dominate another species because we have bodies that can work better with tools and get better use of technology. So we are in a big disadvantage in this game. We all the time needed to overthink them, and that's what the new humans can do. That the Tauri.
Well, you can see that a lot, and that's a sample of it. I remember a episode that there was a some kind of an alien thingy, and there was somebody who touched it, and then if somebody else touched it, they would change bodies. And Teal'c came in the body of O'Neill, and O'Neill came into the body of Teal'c, and Teal'c and O'Neill became sick, so Teal'c needed to he needed
Yes,
to
because O'Neill uh, Teal'c's mind needed the Goa'uld inside his body to keep him safe, to keep him healthy,
Yeah.
and the the possession of O'Neill's body did not provide what he needed as mind. We have more times of changing bodies in Stargate. They used those ancient stones to do that. They touch the stones and change bodies. Daniel Jackson felt that in more or less the eighth season when those stones started to work, and they were so interesting. Then this technology was assimilated by Earth, and then they could even use it in Stargate universe. Became the sorry, and that became the only communication form between um, the starship Destiny to Earth.
What do you love about Stargate SG1?
What I love about Stargate SG1, that's a big list. The first thing I like in Stargate is they are Air Force military, and I am an Air Force military too. I saw so many things in common. I like the way uh, uh, they assumed the control about this project on Earth, and with that they also started to build starships too. And the presence of a Stargate that can connect you to other places was just by that a fascinating possibility. Another thing I like in Stargate is the P90, the standard uh, SG team's weapon. It's a very interesting weapon made by Finland, actually, and it has a very interesting form of working. It uses batteries. It it protects even the actors when it works because instead to instead to eject the old jackets, used jackets from the bullets to the side, risking to do that hot metal to hit the head of a colleague, of the eye of a colleague. The P90 always eject those used jackets down, almost to your feet. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very nice piece of artillery. I like that gun very much, and I even have a copy here. Uh,
So I can
uh,
assume that that is a real military weapon then. Was
yes,
this
yes, I had a
okay?
real one in my hand. I when I served in the Air Force, I was invited to a military fair in Brazil that happened in Rio de Janeiro, and I was there, and I found the FN stand in that fair, and I was decided to find the P90 there, and there was she. I had one in my hands. It costed 1,000 euros each one, so I had the privilege to have a P90 in my hand. It was wonderful.
That's awesome. So they are traveling, and I have said that before in another episode of Stargate.
Mm.
When they travel for the first time through the Stargate, I really got a little bit nauseous because it looked like and it felt like a roller coaster.
Yeah, the bigger the TV,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the bigger the immersion. Yes, you go there. You go there. This happens sometimes to people. If you have some sensibility to those kinds of image, you will be there in the Stargate, and you will be feeling bad, like just like the first ones with have needed Major Carter to do the fine adjustments to the trips. So they started to enter in the Stargate and go out without feeling anything, or get almost frozen on, and to be tossed away when they go out from the event horizon. This was all Major Carter tricks.
So they are traveling through the Stargate to other worlds. What what do you like about it, or because we also know it's kind of a little bit back in history. Yeah, tell me, what do you think about it?
To If you go to a Stargate, you don't know where you go, so you don't have many information. Stargates itself doesn't transmit more information for you. They only can inform you that the connection is open and you can go. But else of that, you don't know how is the atmosphere, you don't know how's temperature, uh, uh, you don't know what is waiting for you there. So Air Force created those drones called MALPs, and it was very wise and useful because they also created the possibility of the electromagnetic signals, radio can go to both sides of an open connection, instead of the matter flow. Only the Stargate you open can transmit matter. In other words, you can walk into this Stargate, but you can't go back before the Stargate closes and you open it again from the other side. So the MALP is a very, very important invention, because if you need to go through this Stargate, unless you need to go with a space suit every time, that will be very uncomfortable. You really need the information of the MALP. I think the Air Force and the very good use of Stargate was very, very nice designed. I like that.
So let us talk a little bit more about the main characters
Mm.
from SG1. Of course, we got Jack O'Neill,
Mhm.
Doc Samantha Carter, we have
Yes,
General Jackson,
Daniel Jackson.
and Teal'c, of course.
We
He
we have Duke. We have
and
General Hammond
yeah,
too. He was a key person there because he assumed command from the Stargate command, and he helped to create and organize everything in that team. And in the first episode, he was about to get retired. Can you imagine that? When you are getting retired, you say goodbye to your career, to your life, and you imagine how will be your life after that. But when he was about to get out, everything changed, and he was back there again. I'm very um, I'm very sad since the actor passed away,
yeah.
because he did a very, very great job. I am very happy too because in Stargate Atlantis, they gave his name to a starship too.
Oh,
Yes, if you listen if you listen carefully, you will see in this serial, in the Stargate Atlantis, that the USS Hammond is there in space and working fine.
hmm, that's nice. Yeah, we already said. We already talked about Teal'c a little bit. Um,
Hmm.
I must say I like Teal'c. He has a kind of humor that, and also with Jack O'Neill, it's like Jack had to mentoring him a little bit of how he had to act on Earth, and I remember there was one episode that was really funny. They were in a hotel room and took out some coins from O'Neill to lying on that vibration bed.
Yeah, yeah. For I imagine how strange that would be to that kind of character. But let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the original characters that came imported from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
We have Jack O'Neill that have a very deep trauma of from the
Losing
death
his
of
son.
his son. Yes, and he blames himself because he didn't hide correctly his weapon, and that happens in many homes in America, and that happens with O'Neill. And he needed to pay himself about that. So he found another son, that guy he met in, yeah, I don't know that planet. Well, in the movie, a kid helped him,
Mm-hmm.
and he assumed the respect of him, and like he had a new kid to take care of.
Yeah.
It was important to him, and the Stargate team uh, became the family he needed to to proceed. Then we have Daniel Jackson, the man who opened the mystery of how the Stargate works. The the seven symbols, 6 points to indicate the destiny, and the last point of origin. This was fantastic, even from a man who always studied relics and history, and now he opened the future to mankind. That was amazing. Then they leave Daniel Jackson in the movie. They leave Daniel Jackson in, I still can't remember the planet where he was. And then the Goa'ulds came to make the collection on Earth, since that gate started to work. Somehow they discovered that and came to Earth to take some samples from their slaving. So here we are. That's a very good cue to restart the story. And not only that, they discovered that Stargate was not a one-way connection to just one planet. Uh, they found out that it's a very galactic network and much more things to discover. That simple discovery opened the series for 10 seasons. Can you imagine 10 years doing the same thing? So, and the more people saw, the more people want to see. And they ended the Egyptian mythology and started the eighth season to finding out what the King Arthur and Merlin, etc., have to offer to the culture, to the alien culture. So Stargate is a very imaginative series. I love that. So we proceed with the characters. Now in the new series we have two more uh, two more characters. We have Samantha Carter. That was a real good acquisition because she was the science inside the Stargate. You can't only start pressing buttons to a thing that you don't know how it works. So the most logical thing is to get inside the Stargate by science, making our computer to control the Stargates, and understanding much more inside it, how works the technology, how the subspace frequencies happens to create a wormhole, and there we go. There you go. You have major things a very bigger collection of scientific things to play around. It's wonderful.
Yeah, do you have any favorite character in the series?
Favorite character? I'm between Daniel Jackson and Samantha Carter.
I She does rock because I remember
Yeah,
when she just appears, she also had that military man talk,
yeah.
and that was really funny.
She made a she said a very famous comment. eh? So Mr. Jack O'Neill was frightened for her presence in his team, and she answered, "Well, it's not because my reproductive organs are inside and yours are outside that will mean any difference between our ways to proceed in this mission." So she nailed that. It was
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah. There was also an episode when they were to on a planet and the men were the leaders there, and the men always had to say of everything, and she had to combat hand to hand
Yeah,
against one of the men. And
yeah,
I think that was one of the episodes that also was um, currently what happened in over the world, that people still see women less than men. And I think that episode showed us that it wouldn't be that case. She can stand up for herself and would be as strong as the man will be.
unfortunately, the human race today in this planet, with all this communication, we still have many regions on the earth where stupid things like that, discriminating men from women, or now there are people discriminating black from white, and from in other way, in other countries there are people discriminating yellow from white or blondies. Uh, this kind of stupidity is still happening in this country, and I thank God that we have series and movies and bigger way of communication to tell people this is stupid. Stop doing that. Let's do something better.
Yeah, I agree to that.
And we come to Tilk. Yes, we come to Tilk. Tilk, I can say he followed in a parachute on the series. Of course, if we have in Star Trek, we have the alien Spock to explain alien things to us. In Stargate, we needed someone from inside the enemy to explain the enemy to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we fortunately we have our Spock, not as scientific like a Vulcan, but that Jaffa explaining many things from the Goa'uld kingdom, and the traditions that he needed, and then the suffering of his people, and it was very instrumental to this series. Not to mention that actor made a very impressive uh, uh, impression to everyone. I always will remember him when he needed to torture someone. All he needed to do is to sit and look to the guy. Oh man, 10 minutes in that under that look make you say everything. That guy was amazing. One thing that impressed me too, it was the expression of Tuke in the first episodes. Every time I look to that face, look to that mouth, I was very sure he was chewing a lemon. That was Duke, and we in these 10 years we saw the character evolving, becoming
Yeah.
more human, becoming more understandable, you know. And even when they started to free all the Jaffa
Yeah.
in the 10th year, or 9th or 10th year, it was epic because of Tilk. No one else could do that. Not even Bretak. Bretak was there to, I believe Bretak was a collateral effect of the strong of Tilk. I like this thing they made in this series. It's very important. It's very strong.
I remember too that they gave him hair at, I think, the last two seasons of it. And the first time I saw him with hair, I was thinking, what the hell? That is so not Teal'c.
Yeah, you can see there is a difference between a slave and a free man.
Yeah.
So, so a free man, he start to explore himself. He start to explore his own appearance. I don't want to look like a slave. So here we go. You know, the first thing I did when I ended my career in the Air Force was to let my shave and my hair to grow out. And I became a so ugly person that when I saw my first photos with all that, I came home and cut it everything.
Yeah, they say
No.
that when you have been surfing, you will keep the haircut as well when you
Hmm.
retire.
Yes. So, but even so, when we start this time of retiring, we try everything. We try,
Mm.
we are back to know ourselves again and re-identify ourselves. So I believe it was what's happening with Tilk. He was not a slave anymore, and he was among Earth people, and that medallion in his forehead also made a very hard impression. So the hair helped him to minimize the effect. I'm sure.
I must say, I like that medallion on his head. It is something, I don't want to say special, but it was intriguing to like a mark what he was in a way.
Yes, each Jaffa had a drawing in his forehead. Some with lower ranks, they have tattoos in the forehead, each one with a symbol that represents the Goa'uld Lord they serve. In case of Tilk, he served Apophis, if I don't remember, if my memory works fine. He served Apophis, and that was the symbol of Apophis. I'm not sure it was
Yeah, I
it
thought it
was
was him.
it was the same symbol we see in the Egyptians documentaries. I don't know, but they used to open the skin of the Jaffa in and make some holes in the bones, and then they melt gold inside those holes, so the medallion forms right on his forehead. It's not a walk in the park. It's very painful, and the Goa'uld don't care about that. They want you to serve them.
So there was still one main character we have to talk about, and that is Jack O'Neill.
Yes, Jack O'Neill was the tactical brain in the team. He always wanted new ideas, always wanted to be the action man. So if you have a person that he's only a scientist, like Daniel Jackson, he was not trained to do that in the beginning, but he learned to do that and to be a warrior too. But it happened only after the fifth season. You see he being braver, and if you leave Samantha Carter uh, alone, she will be dived in how to make an aqua reactor. She loved to do that. But this is she. If you lose Duke, he will hunt someone to serve with him against Apophis and die free, if so. But Jack O'Neill was the glue that took all the talents of that team and make them work together, each time with a new objective. It was impressive. And I love it the way when Carter started to explain scientifically something they need to do, they she always was uh, uh, interrupted by Jack O'Neill, and he said, "Carter, English." He didn't have time to understand. Only wanted to know, can we do that or not? I think we have the balance about that, and I think too it was imitated in the less uh, um, Lost in Space series. In this series, we don't have the father as a scientist. The father is the military,
Mm-hmm.
and the wife is the scientist, and the son is the scientist. But in times of action, the father takes the leadership and goes for the action and solves the problem, listening to the scientists, just like Stargate does. I think it's it's a work team in action. We can always find the balance with that when you have a leader and you have a mission to do. It's fascinating.
Do you have any favorite episodes of the series?
That's hard to say. It's a so big list. Oh, I love the end of the seventh season when they finally discover Atlantis, and I love the way Atlantis started. I hate the way they changed it. The leader of the Atlantis was the actor they found, the actress they found to Atlantis. What had talent, had charisma, but if she was the first one the, that appeared in the seventh season of Stargate, I think she would be more successful. And what another episode? That episode where Jack O'Neill restarts the day every day, and that was a very nice one. The 200th episode of the series when we had already another team, and they made so much. They made that episode so funny.
There is a lot of humor in the series.
Yes, yes, they loved it, and they implemented that so brilliantly. They even put humor in the commander of Stargate Atlantis when they called the Robert Picardo to be the commander there. He made a very serious character as the commander of the city, but the actor himself, he loved to implant humor in the scenes, and he made it very subtle, very interesting. I love that. They love humor in the whole series, and that was the ideal mix, so we can explore space and have fun and learn something with the science of Stargate, and it was simply impressive. Other thing I loved in Stargate was the day Samantha Carter exploded a sun using Stargate technology. That was impressive too. And I sincerely hope they they can do that again. They can do that that magic. They can do that mixing of humor, technology, and action to enlighten us when they do Stargate again.
I hope so too, yeah. Well, we're coming at the end of this episode. Is there something you'd like to add?
I just remember a joke I heard in the 200th episode. It was impressive. There were a Muppet or puppet. They use it to wear in Thunderbirds technology. They use that technology in the 200th episode. It was so hilarious. The General Hammond puppet came to the sergeant who dialed Stargate and he said, "Okay, it's time to spin it." And the sergeant said, "Oh, General, the Stargate it doesn't spin." And General Hammond said, "I am a general. I said it spins, and that thing will spin."
Yeah, I remember that.
I laughed from that for so many things. I heard real generals talking that way. That was impressive.
I think that's also reminds you in a little bit of your time in the Air Force,
Mm.
because there are a lot of things I think you can identify when you were in the Air Force with some kind of talking or actions or
Well, my actions in the Air Force were more guided by Star Trek, and the officers didn't know where came my way to speak with them by Starfleet protocol, and they liked that. At the same time, I shown efficiency and respect. And Stargate made the contrary, and it makes those times in my uniform and that green uniform I had to, and the times in camping, military camping, and the times of training, shooting, and you know the more adventure times when you are military, they all seems to pay off when you see Stargate and you tell yourself, yes, I was able to do everything of that, and if I just wanted that Brazilian Air Force has discovered the Stargate, I would be ready.
what are also moments in the series or in the episodes that you were thinking, ugh, that can't be, that's impossible because you know certain things, how things work.
Well, the most glorious moments in Stargate for me was just the end of the seventh year, the seventh seasons, when they discover Atlantis. That trip to the hidden hidden city of Atlantis had so many times, so many steps to go. The, the team suffered so many things, and that became an apogee so glorious. That battle for Atlantis was glorious. We have a fleet of spaceships that could fight the enemy ships. We Stargate made us evolve like Air Force, like defensive species. We could be not take unarmed if needed, but we were in Stargate every time evolved with everything we learned. I believe this is the way. I believe this is the way we can we can learn with Stargate. You know, there are series and there are movies that shows the contrary, like District 9. It shows how mankind can be negative with aliens that can accidentally come here, and they will only get ambitious with that technology. If we did that in Stargate, we already have lost. But we were wise in Stargate because this team, this SG1, they simply guided us to win all the wars they broke to us. It was wonderful.
Well, Mark, we are at the end of this episode. I'd like to thank you again to be my guest. And another thing, I like to thank you personally for your service, what you did in the military. And I hope to talk to you soon again.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I thank you for the opportunity to tell you about the proud I have to have served and the good times this brought to me, and how Stargate came along and brightened my time in there. That was wonderful. Thank you. And I will be here whenever you need me.
Dear listeners, I'd like to thank you for listening to this podcast. I hope you like it, and I try to be diverse as much as I can. Tell me what you think how I'm doing with this podcast. If you have any tips for me how I can do things better, let me know. If you'd like to talk about this episode or want to comment on this episode, you can reach out on Podbean, the Facebook group, the YouTube channel, and the Discord server for Renda Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi. I also have a Twitter account especially for this podcast at OTFASP. Renda Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi is also to listen, follow, and subscribe on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcast, the Facebook group, and the YouTube channel. The next episode will be in the new year. I wish you a very happy new year, and I hope you will be listening as well to my podcast next year, because I have a lot of great ideas and great subjects to cover. The first episode of Season 2 and in the new year is another part of Stargate SG1. Thank you again for listening, and I will see you in the new year.